Come on in. Welcome to the DeeScussion. Today I've got Stan Howard. He's a sleep technologist, respiratory therapist, a lifelong resident of Ocoee, and he's actually running for executive. I think it's county executive, but we're going to find out here shortly. Thanks for watching.
Junior high before it became Chilhowee Middle School.
What did they name
Lake
it?
Forest,
Yeah.
Lake Forest Middle.
What was his name?
Ed Howard.
Ed Howard. What did he teach?
Yeah, he was. He taught economics at Cleveland State, and then he got into secondary school administration. He was principal at Basin and at Polk County. He was at the central office when they built South Polk Elementary, and then he finished up his last 10 years for Jerry Fraser. Talked him to come over to Bradley County, and he finished out his last 10 at Truett Junior High with Ron Chastain. So a lot of Bradley County people will know my dad, you know.
Yeah. Did you say Ed?
Ed Howard.
Ed Howard.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And you're about the same age, I believe, aren't we?
I'm 61.
I'm 60.
Yep, I turned 61 last week, as a matter of fact.
You know, I don't notice any difference, do you?
I feel better now than I probably did 10 years ago. I've dropped a little weight and kind of got back in fighting shape a little bit. And
what's your fighting weight?
My fighting weight is probably around 220. I'm back down to about 228 now. I got up to about 268 at one time.
How did you lose it?
Got on the carnivore diet for the last year.
Well, that'll make you feel better.
Man, my joints, my sleep is better. Of course, I don't sleep much anyway.
You study that guy on YouTube. That's the carnivore guy.
What's his name? There's probably
Baker?
4. Yeah, there's 4 that I watch. Sean Baker.
Sean Baker.
And then Anthony, Sean Baker. Well, you put me on the spot now. I went blank on those guys. But he's and the one that I really like too is Dr. Barry out of West Tennessee. He lives over around Camden, where I used to go deer hunting a lot over there. But Dr. Ken Berry is another one that I follow real closely.
So he's big on it.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Camden, that's up around...
around Paris.
It's between...
It's
between Nashville and...
Yeah, or Jackson, yeah.
Yeah, Nashville and Jackson. I went there one time. Camden.
Yeah, they're close.
It's the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, it's pretty up there on Kentucky
He's big
Lake.
into the carnivore?
Oh, yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm.
I think that carnivore diet is probably the best thing you can do.
It's been great for me. Like I say, my wife gets a little aggravated.
Do you eat any eggs?
About 6 a day, yeah. And thought my cholesterol might shoot up, but I did blood work. It stayed pretty low. My total heart rate went way down, though. So,
what'd you eat before? A lot of potatoes? Or
I was not a big sweet eater. I was more of a snack to me would be a ham and cheese sandwich. You know, I was a carb monster.
Yeah,
I loved
pasta. Breads.
Yeah, pasta.
I eat a lot of pasta. I don't get any problems with pasta.
Mm-hmm. And I think that was my big downfall, was just the carbs. But my mom and my wife were good cooks, so, and I kept it burned off pretty good when I was young. I was always athletic, and then as I got older, it caught up to me.
You know, I don't think the breads that we eat today are like the breads we grew up on. There's something different. Have you noticed they're more chewy or something? It's just different.
More chewy and sweet.
There's something sweet. Yes. Like even that Wonder Bread tastes like I'm eating a cupcake with a little bit of sugar in it.
Yep. And
whatever happened to colonial bread? That's what I grew up on.
I don't know. I think I still see it every now and then in certain places. It may be more regional now.
I think maybe it got bought out by somebody.
Probably. It was Kearns and Colonial.
Colonial bread, boy, that was best bread, wasn't it?
Yes. But that would be my snack.
You ever heard the old saying, best thing since sliced bread?
That's right. That's right.
That was a a big help, wasn't it? To be able to get the slices the exact same size.
I don't enjoy cutting bread. I mess it up so bad. But.
Now you say you're from Ocoee. If you live in Polk County, a lot of people distinguish between Benton and Ocoee, and what else?
Old Fort, then Conestoga. If you're going from Benton toward the Georgia line, you're going Benton, Ocoee, Old Fort, Conestoga, and then into Tinga, Georgia.
Tinga, yeah. And the other way is?
Then you go Benton, then you go Delano. To the left is Linsdale. Then you're going over into McMinn County. Wetmore. Then you're right into McMinn County. Then.
If you know Wetmore, you're from around there.
Yep. Wetmore's kind of the end of the road before you hit the...
I had somebody on here a couple of weeks ago. I was trying to think of Wetmore, and I kept calling it Mudhead.
Yeah.
There's not a Mudhead, is there?
Not that I know.
I think I was calling it Mudhead, but it was Wetmore.
Now, there may be, and I don't know.
And then you got Benton Station.
Oh, yeah, Benton Station. My grandmother and grandfather, as I was growing up, they lived in Benton Station.
So you would know Phil Lee.
Oh, yeah. Know Mr. Lee well. Actually, Phil's moved over now, and he's on Highway 314, what we used to call Zion Valley Road.
What is that area? Is it called anything?
We used to call it Zion Valley. You know, had Zion Church, and that's where a lot of my grandmother's ancestors grew up. My grandmother was a Rogers, Debbie Rogers Howard.
That would be the Angela Cartwright, right?
Probably so, yeah. And then we got all the way back to Travis. I think the earliest relative I've traced, Chris Rogers gave me a genealogy, went back to 1812. Travis Elisha Rogers came from Virginia, I believe, to Tennessee, and settled over there in the Zion Valley. And when I was growing up, we always had Zion Valley and Todd Holler, which Todd Holler is now Welcome Valley. So we've tried to upgrade things. Zion
That's
Valley,
where the Welcome Valley was where the Scooby-Doo bus was for years.
Yep.
Was that Randy Miller's?
It may have been.
I think it was Randy Miller.
It may have been Randy Miller's. But he did. He had an exact replica.
Scooby-Doo, Zach replica. That's sat there for years.
Yes,
I mean years.
I don't know where it's at.
I don't know.
I'd love to know.
It hadn't been gone 5 years, I bet.
Yeah. And then, of course, growing up there in Ocoee, I did, when I was in high school, I did the river with John Thomasson when he owned Cherokee Rafting. That was one of my summer jobs.
John Tom.
Not JT Lemming, but John Thomasson, who owned Cherokee. JT had a Ocoee Outdoors.
Yeah.
And we were kind of the minor leagues of the Ocoee River back then. But the year I was rafting with John, they were rebuilding the flume line, and so the water ran 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And I was a 17-year-old kid. Of course, I loved it. And I rafted with John and John Longley, who was a local farmer, and several other guys. Keith Oxford, John Oxford's dad, he rafted with John, and we would just stay up there all day on the weekends, and they would just shuttle people back up and down. We would shuttle the rafts back up and down. John had the little grocery store that used to be Cherokee Corner there, which was my Uncle Elmer started that. Elmer Morehouse started that way back in the day. And my whole family lived in that little valley right there. My grandfather had the brick house right there, and then my Uncle Elmer had the gas station and grocery, and then my...
Cherokee Corners.
Yeah, Cherokee Corners. And that was my Uncle
Well, they used
Elmer's.
to have sandwiches there.
Yeah, and John would bring us thick sauce bologna up there and feed us between trips, you know. So, yeah, but that was a fun time. And then I worked for Randy Wattenbarger over at the lake one summer, worked on the docks and pumped gas on the weekends and weed eat, you name it. And then Milton and David Humbert.
David Humbert. Yeah, he lived in Welcome Valley.
Yeah, David lived right there on Welcome Valley, and I used to help them I'd help Milton with hay, and I would help he and David with their cattle in the fall. I'd help them. I was the guy that got to run them through the chute, and then they would take care of the vaccinations and stuff, and I was the one that was getting kicked. But I
got a funny story about David Humbert. I was at his office it was like New Year's Day one year. I forget, it was before he was even sick. And I said, what's New Year's? I said, do you have any New Year's resolution? He said, I make 10 New Year's resolutions of 10 things that make my life easier. And I said, give me an example. And he said, well, I've got a mud puddle in front of my barn. He said, this year I'm going to fill that mud puddle up because I'm tired of walking around the mud puddle. So his New Year's resolutions were simple things that made a lot of difference.
Sense. Yeah.
Not, I'm going to, run a marathon. It was just, I'm going to fill that hole in so I don't have to walk. I always thought about that. Yeah. 10 things that make things easier.
And David was so quiet, and he was just a quiet guy. I really looked up to David Humbert, and of course, his wife taught school at South Polk, and my mom was a 23-year teacher's aide at South Polk. She helped with resource and Title I and pre-K. And so she was, I knew Marlene really well, and they were just great people. And David's mom and dad, Ora and Milton, were always good to me when I was growing up. So they were influences on my life.
Elmer Morehouse, was that Johnny Morehouse's, was there, when I worked for my uncle in construction, we built a house for Johnny Morehouse, who was the airplane pilot, coming back to his hometown of Polk County and going to retire. And that was at the same time that the firecracker stand blew up.
Oh, man, yeah. That happened on my graduation day.
Well, that was...
From high school.
Well, I was working there. I'd skipped school to work for my uncle, and I'd come back that day, and it blew up. That was the same time they got that... Remember when they got that cockfighting ring?
Oh, yeah.
Boy, nobody remembers that stuff. Those two things, neither one of them, do they?
No.
They were both big events.
Big things, yeah.
Big events.
They were big
especially
things.
That explosion.
Oh,
They
my
said there
goodness.
was body parts in the trees.
It was, and it was pitiful. We were I can remember that day. They say, can you remember where you were when certain things happened? I'll never forget. We were in the auditorium at Benton Elementary School getting assignments to line up for graduation, commencement ceremony. My dad was the principal at Polk County then. And so we were in the auditorium, and all of a sudden there was a big, it shook. We thought the windows were going to break.
It cracked the basement of this house I was in.
It rattled the window. We just knew the windows had broken in the auditorium. It shook the walls. And back when I was a kid, they used to do a lot of Air Force training in Ocoee. Our house was kind of the highest point between Chilhowie and Cleveland. I can sit on my front porch and I can see the boats on the lake, or I'm higher than the reservoir. And then I go in the backyard and I can see as far as my eye can see. And the Air Force used to do some training, and I don't know if they were coming out of Knoxville or where they were coming from. They would fly across our house and dive down in that valley and act like they were bombing the dam, and then they'd roll up behind Sugarloaf Mountain and make another loop, and we'd be out in the backyard shooting basketball, and they'd come over, 50 feet above my head. I could see the guys in the cockpit, but we thought it was that. We thought maybe it was a big boom, sonic boom. And then come to find out one of my classmates, her mother and her sister were in that blast. It was bad. And then we had a seat for her mom because that was going to be the last one of her children to graduate. And it was awful.
It was a big deal.
It was awful. And that, and her sister was a good friend of mine. She graduated a year before we did. And she was just a really sweet person. But it was like they said, it was probably the best kept secret that ever was in Polk County. Nobody knew about it.
No, it may not even been illegal. You know how there's so many gray areas.
It was such a surprise. We just all thought it was worm form,
Yeah.
But that was the day of my graduation. That's probably one of the biggest events we've had. And of course, Dr. Bass at UT had actually put a chapter in one of his books about that explosion. And coming to Polk County and finding body parts and matching up forensics. And I remember Mayfield's donated, I think, some refrigerated trucks to put for them to use as a mobile morgue, and it was tough.
Yeah, it was tough.
It was tough
because a lot of people worked there.
Yeah, and they were a good family. The Trenholms, Tanya was my friend that I went to school with, but her sister was the one that got killed in blast. They were, I'll never forget that. I mean, that was kind of a damper on
I bet.
our graduation, 1983.
83, yeah. I graduated in 84.
Yep, 1983.
Ocoee is, does your mailing address say Ocoee or?
Mine does.
Is it?
Yeah, I'm 166 Howard Drive, Ocoee, Tennessee. Yep.
You ever eat at the damn deli?
All the time. I can walk to it. It's right below the house.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you can see my house from the parking lot.
So you're on the same side of the road?
Yes, same side of the road. And then
They have chickens out there?
Yeah. They roam around. They're free range. They'll get up in the tree and roost in the evening. Yeah. It's a great place. If you like chicken livers, they have the best. They've got these huge.
I got good French fries.
And they've got a great fried bologna sandwich.
Yeah, fried bologna. Boy, I like a fried bologna sandwich.
I've never had anything there I didn't like. It's just a good little place.
Let's see, what was it before the damn deli? Wasn't it something else?
I'm trying to remember. Well, actually, John Thomasson had moved Cherokee Rafting across the road to that building. That used to be the rafting building.
Yeah, it was a rafting building.
Yeah, it was a rafting building at first. And then Michelle and her husband came in years ago and got that little restaurant. I can't remember anything in between. There might have been maybe like a little produce market or something for a little while
I'm thinking it was.
I believe there may have been a little produce market there for a little while. But it's a good place to eat, real good place
I used to eat there at the Cherokee Corners when I was building a house in Sugarloaf.
Okay.
And we'd come down there and, was there working one day, and me and the Bobcat guy went down to eat, and we're coming back, and we just got it to go, so we just stopped at that graveyard there and walked the graveyard while we ate. We just kind of, I like to walk, read the,
look
at
what
the
year they
dates
passed
and
away,
stuff. And so we got back to the job, and that's when cell phones just started coming out, and he got a call and said his brother had passed away.
No.
And we had just left the graveyard. You know what I'm saying? It was like an ironic thing.
Yeah. That's spooky to be in a graveyard and then get a call.
Now, if you're in Polk County, if you're at Ocoee, do you feel like Ducktown's a whole nother town, or do you, it's so far up there?
Yeah, we, Dad, like I say, Dad was principal up at Copper Basin too, and make sure that thing's turned on. Dad was principal up at Copper Basin too. My grandmother Maccabee, she was a German, Helen German. And she had 13 brothers and sisters, and they all grew up in Copper Hill up there on Buzzard's Roost, I believe is what they called it. And then I've got a lot of relatives that moved into McKaysville, some that went down to Atlanta. But my grandmother grew up there. And like I say, when Dad was principal up at Copper Basin, we spent a lot of time up there. And we were actually going to move up to the basin and couldn't get a house. Found a house we wanted. Sonny Painter was the big banker up there at that time, and he was going to help Dad get a house, and we found one we liked, and it was a city service house. And they said, well, you don't work for city service, we can't sell it to you. And so we wound up not getting it, and then they wound up moving Dad to the central office as the assistant superintendent for a few years. And then, so we didn't move, and then shortly after that, the company closed down, and then, they couldn't give those houses away then. And but then he spent a few years at the central office with Margaret Smiley. She was the superintendent. He was her assistant. And then when Tom Boyd retired from school there at Polk County, he went to Polk County High School, came in my sophomore year. Took him to my senior year to get to paddle me, but he finally got to. Proved to everybody he would. But a friend of mine and I kind of had a race up to the school building one day, and I stopped and he did, and then he tagged the front door and broke the window. And so he drew me in as an accomplice. And just to prove it, I think everybody in the school heard it that morning.
Yeah.
But, the basin, for some people, it seems like a different world. For me, it's not as much because I spent so much time up there when I was a kid, when Dad was principal. I used to go up there and spend summers in the gym. Dewey Warren was the football coach up there, when Dad was there, who was the swamp rat that played quarterback at UT. And then I'd go up and hang out in the gym, and there were some really good people up there too, Dale Thomas and David Queen, of course Dewey. Those coaches were always hanging around in the summertime. I'd go up there and shoot basketball and go out and play on the football field. I had a unicycle in the gym, and I never learned to ride it. I always wanted to learn how to ride that unicycle. Never did.
It'd be hard to ride a unicycle the first time.
Oh, man. I never got it down. I just didn't have the balance for a unicycle. But I spent about 2 weeks one summer. I was determined. Never did. The one thing I failed out, I never could get ride a unicycle. I could skateboard.
How did you end up being a sleep technologist?
Well,
is that how, am I phrasing it right?
Yeah, sleep technologist. I actually wanted to be a fighter pilot. My aunt, my Uncle Hoyt German, that lived below us, was married to Virginia, used to be Mashburn, Judge Mayo Mashburn's sister. And Mayo's son, Knox, was a fighter pilot, and Uncle Hoyt said, you ought to be a fighter pilot. Boy, I really started thinking about that really seriously. And he's like, we'll talk to Mayo, maybe he can get you an appointment to the Air Force Academy. And that's what I want to do. I want to be this is before Top Gun came out, but I really want to be a fighter pilot. I like motorcycles. I liked riding motorcycles fast. We always had dirt bikes when I was a kid. And so my senior year in high school, of course, the World's Fair came to Knoxville. And I went up and rode the big spinning tilt-a-whirl thing, and I wound up laying in the grass for about 2 hours trying to get where I could stand up again. And my dad looked at me and said, I think you might need to reconsider your career choice. So I had thought about civil engineering, thought about doing survey work, doing civil engineering. And I was a pretty good student in high school. And so I thought about civil engineering, and then I did a career day one day, and my cousin Dean Morehouse, my Uncle Elmer's middle son, Dean was the director of cardiopulmonary services he was at Diagnostic Hospital, and then when Diagnostic was bought by Park Ridge, he went over and was the director at Park Ridge. But he came and did a career day, and I was in the National Honor Society, so I was his host. And I listened to him talk about respiratory therapy for about 3 hours. This sounds like a pretty good gig. Dean's head of a department, he's driving a 280Z, Chattanooga State's not that far away. I might just do that. And of course, I didn't know Dean was the exception to the rule. He was very successful, very young. And so he got me into the program at Chattanooga State, and I went in, and it was kind of a blessing and a curse because most people did their academics in 1 year, and then they would apply for the respiratory program. Well, Dean kind of greased a wheel or two, got me in, so I was doing academics and respiratory, and I did it in 8 quarters, and I was taking 18, 21 hours a quarter, and he about killed me, but I got through it and got out, and then it really made my life from that point on because I went to work at Star Regional and was, after a few years, was made day shift supervisor there in respiratory therapy. And then my boss was Bill Stewart, and he was wanting to advance his education and get into nursing home administration. And he wanted to kind of groom me and to take over his spot as the director of respiratory care at what's now Star Regional. It used to be Athens Community, Athens Regional Hospital. And so he and I enrolled in the Tusculum College business program and did it together. And did it along with Doris Donahue, who used to be the HR person at M&M Mars for years. I've been really lucky. I was in school with Bill and Doris, and they got me through business school, and then got out of business school, had my business degree, and then I ran into another old Polk County boy by the name of Brian Biggs. And Brian was a senior when I was a freshman in high school, and Brian was a nurse, and his wife was a respiratory therapist, Sharon. And we got to talking, and he said, well, we're thinking about starting a medical equipment company. Would you be interested in joining us? And I said, Brian, I don't have a pot to pee in or a window to throw it out of. He said, you'll work? And I said, yeah, I'll work. He said, we'll get you some sweat equity. Let's go. I said, okay. And then about that time, Dean had left Park Ridge. I knew doctors in Athens really well. Brian and Sharon knew doctors here in Cleveland. Dean knew all the pulmonology guys in Chattanooga. So we called Dean and said, hey, we're thinking about starting this company. Would you like to be interested in going into business with us? And so Dean's like, sure. So it was really a blessing from God that everything fell together at that time. And we just it was kind of like you threw a pebble in a pond, 3 pebbles in a pond, you watched it spread. Mm-hmm. And so we put that little company together with a $50,000 loan from Benton Bank, and we got started in earnest right around 1990. And then by 1996, we had grown that business to be, I think we were probably 3rd largest in the Chattanooga market. We were covering 15 counties in southeast Tennessee, North Georgia, North Alabama. We were going from Von Orr to, I was the clinical specialist guy. I was taking care of patients, and I was running from Von Orr all the way down to Ider, Alabama. And we went as far as the mountain. We wound up not going, we would kind of coordinate with Joe Hamby. He had a business over in Copper Hill, and we didn't want to get people stranded if we had bad weather and got cut off. So we would kind of share with Joe if we had somebody that was over the mountains there. But we ran as over to Tracy City, as north as Von Orr and as south as Ider, Alabama.
Wow.
Yeah, and we actually made a bid, got the first contract from TennCare for oxygen in East Tennessee. And we were awarded that contract, and that was a really big thing for us. We expanded, we hired some more employees. And then the managed care ball got rolling. And when this was during Clinton's term, and of course Hillary was going to take over healthcare for Bill. She was going to fix healthcare. And they got the managed care ball rolling, and the bigs got bigger, and the smalls got bought or dried up, basically. Yeah. And we had actually made a bid for a contract with Columbia Healthcare, which was a spinoff of HCA. We got the contract, and then it got pulled. And we asked them, said, what's going on? And they said, well, we don't know if you can handle this contract. You're not a national company. We're looking for a national company. Of course, now you see what that's all about. Right. We didn't have stock that they could buy. Yeah. So we wound up missing that contract, and then we kind of saw the handwriting on the wall. Well, if they ever go to competitive bidding for Medicare, and 85% of our business was Medicare, we're probably going to be out of business tomorrow, if they ever go to competitive bidding, because they're not going to give us a bid. So we're either going to have to go public, or we sell and we do what we want to do. So we decided we sold to Apria Healthcare in 96. They bought us out. Mm-hmm. And Brian and Dean stayed. Brian and Dean taught me a lot. They were both really good businessmen, taught me so much. I was more of I was 26 years old, when we started the company. And I was 31 when we sold it, and I learned so much from them as far as business-wise. And but we sold that company, and it was really good. I was actually going to buy a golf course, and the deal didn't quite come to fruition. And then I'd been married previously. I had 2 girls, and I had my girls, and I met my current wife. We've been married 28 years, and she had 2. So the next thing I know, I go from being retired at 31 to having 5 women in the house. Full time. Yeah. So I've got stair-step teenagers growing up. When we got married, there were 4, 10, 11, and 12. So I had 3 embraces at the same time, 3 learning to drive at the same time. It was great, though. It was great. My wife is super, and the older 3 were all cheerleaders. So it was always fundraisers and cheerleading camps, and I would haul equipment, and Oh man, teaching them to drive, fixing the cars after they bend them.
Getting the driver, getting the insurance updated.
Oh yeah, I had 3 of them in braces at the same time.
That's $15,000.
Oh man,
12.
Dr. McReynolds did me a deal on the 4th one though. He gave me a discount on the 4th one. But
that's nice.
it was great though, and we were kind of that place where the teenagers wanted to come hang out on the weekends. So we keep an eye on them.
Yeah.
They ate me out of house and home because I knew I was in trouble. The first year we were married, we built our house next to my mom and dad there in Ocoee, up on top of the hill. And the girls were middle school age. So I came in from work one morning. I had gone back to work and sleep. But I came in from work one morning. There was a horse, a bicycle, and a motorcycle sitting in my yard at 9 o'clock in the morning. And I'm like, what the heck's going on? And those boys are already finding their way up the hill chasing those girls, even in middle school.
Yeah.
But it was great. But the way I got into sleep medicine, right after we'd sold the medical equipment company, they called me from Star Regional where I'd been a respiratory therapist. They said, hey, we're Tammy Muth Davis. She had started a sleep lab. And she said, we're starting a sleep lab up here, and you've already done CPAP machines in the home and home ventilators and all this. Would you be interested in coming up and getting into sleep medicine? And at that time, if you were a registered respiratory therapist, you could practice under a doctor for a year and then set for the national boards to be registered in sleep. So I did that. I worked for a year, and then I set for the boards, and I got accredited in sleep medicine too. So I had a respiratory therapy degree and then associates and boarded in that. Then I went and got my business degree, and then I came back and got a certification in sleep medicine. And I've been doing that for the last 27 years. It was kind of a semi-retirement. I could work 2 or 3 nights a week, and then we run with the girls, and now I've got 8 grandkids that I like to chase around. So, but sleep medicine's been really good because I'm not just the hair club president, I'm a client. You know, I have sleep apnea, and my wife's ex-husband died in his sleep at 34. I raised his girls really, and they're probably as close to me as my own girls. Our girls are great, but it's really something that for me, it's instant gratification. There's not a lot of things you do in medicine that you see such a 180-degree change in somebody in a few hours as you can in sleep. When you get them on there and get them titrated out, you get that right pressure for them. You see the brain patterns change, and
so a lot of people have sleep apnea that don't know it.
Absolutely. Well, a lot of people probably know it, just don't want to admit it. You know,
they just think they snore or something.
Yeah, for me it was cognition. I mean, I was really worried. I was getting some early onset dementia in my early 40s because I'd played a lot of sports growing up. Football, baseball, linebacker, offensive guard, catcher. I took a lot of licks to the head, and I was really worried I might be having some CTE issues.
Yeah.
And it was just I wasn't getting the slow wave sleep I needed to process memory. People don't realize.
Is that the REM sleep they call it?
That's the slow wave sleep. But the REM and the slow wave only make up about half the night, but that's about 90% of your recharge. So if you don't get a lot of slow wave and REM, if you don't get that amount, you never really feel rested. It really affects your memory and cognition. And I mean, when I got on that machine, it was like I walked out of a fog.
How does that affect your? The REM sleep's when you go into the deep sleep.
Yeah, that's your dream stage.
Yeah. How long does it take people to get into the REM sleep?
You should have REM every 90 minutes through the night. It should come in cycles.
How long does it last?
The first one's short, the next one will be longer, and then the last cycle is usually your longest. It's always
like 10 minutes?
Darkest before the dawn. No, you might be in that last REM stage an hour. But it should be, if you sleep 8 hours, you ought to spend 2 hours in REM. Total.
Is there any, some people say they don't need that much sleep, but they don't, they're just kidding themselves, right?
Most people. There are a few people that we call type Bs that can run on 4 or 5 hours sleep, but a lot of people run on 4 or 5 hours sleep because they have severe sleep apnea and their body releases so much adrenaline that they wake up and they're wide awake and they think, well, I don't need the sleep. But really you do. So but to watch those patterns change, I mean, when we did the sleep study, we can tell if you're awake with your eyes open or awake with your eyes closed just by your brain patterns. But it's really cool to watch the changes. There's a difference in sleeping and resting. I would sleep 12 hours and get up and feel like I'd never been to bed. And then once I got my sleep apnea fixed, I can sleep, I sleep usually 7.5 to 9 hours and never need a nap.
What was it doing? Just giving you more oxygen?
Well, with sleep apnea, what it does is you've got some soft tissue blocking your airway. So you don't move as much air, you don't get it there deep enough in there where it exchanges, and the oxygen fluctuates, and we're humans. The most important thing we have to survive is oxygen.
Yeah.
So if the brain's constantly waking you up, you don't know you're doing it, but we see it on the EEG, and it's getting the muscle tone back in the jaw to get the airway open. So, if your oxygen level fluctuates 3 or 4 percentage points, it causes what we call an arousal. The brain will wake up for about 3 seconds to get the muscle tone back. You'll take a couple of deep breaths and you doze back, but you're constantly chopping up and fragmenting your sleep. Mm-hmm. Well, it always is worse during rapid eye movement, because as adults, when we go into REM sleep, we should be paralyzed. That's normal. That's what keeps you from acting out dreams. That's why you can't sleep with a 4-year-old kid. Their brain's not developed enough to keep them paralyzed, so they act out dreams. They're what we call active sleepers.
Sleepwalkers.
Yeah, well, and if they don't, I had a daughter that sleptwalked till she was about 12. She finally grew out of about 12. Mm-hmm. But what we see more is with adults, as adults, we go in that REM sleep, we lose all that muscle tone in the jaw, and the tongue really falls back. It's usually structural stuff. With probably the most wildest thing I've seen, though, is people always ask me, they say, what's the most disturbing thing you see in the sleep center? And I said, well, probably the most disturbing thing I've ever seen was I had a couple of patients that exhibited a split personality disorder during their dream stage. They would sleep talk, and it was like the voice was different. It was like there was a different person in the room. I mean, I always get cold chills every time I tell the story, but that can be secondary. We see a lot of REM behavior disorder secondary post-traumatic stress. You see a lot with military, police, firefighters,
EMT,
battered women, abused children.
Anything.
Yeah, as the body's kind of has a protective mechanism so you don't completely paralyze, so you can fight or flee at a moment's notice. But the bad thing is you act out those dreams, and usually the dreams are traumatic because dreams are emotional. Fast wave, slow wave is declarative memory. It's fact-based things, So the slow wave is short-term, recent memory. The fast wave is backup of your hard drive, your long-term memory. I mean, it's amazing what your brain does when you're sleeping.
Do you think we are our brain, or is our brain just another organ?
Oh, I would say we are our brain, yeah. I mean, you think about even things where people have had issues with chemical and substance abuse, how it changes the brain activity. I mean, you can see it on resonance imaging. The brain can actually change. And that's way above my head. That's neurodiagnostics. I'm not a neuro specialist.
That's a whole other thing.
It's a whole other thing. Yeah, Dr. Anthony Chafee.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
Finally thought of that name.
Yeah, because he's a neurosurgeon.
Oh.
Yeah, you're back to the carnivore again. Squirrel. Anthony Chafee, he's a neurosurgeon. So yeah, he's another one of those doctors. But we can start talking about
that's an interesting field you're in, isn't it?
Oh yeah, it's just tough now that I'm an old man. It's not as much getting through the shift as it is getting home in the morning. I drive about 45 minutes each way. And
I guess it is about 45 minutes.
Sometimes it's tough getting home, but the older I get.
Is that why you're thinking of running for executive?
No.
I noticed your sign said Polk County Executive.
Yeah.
Is that county executive?
County executive, and it's the county mayor.
But your sign says executive.
Yeah, because we're one of about 7 or 8 counties in Tennessee that still call it executive.
So it's not a typo.
No.
That's what you're running.
It is
county executive.
Yeah, but it's county mayor. That's the role.
Yeah.
And if you look at
that's the way Cleveland used to be, right?
Yeah.
County mayor, Judge Collins.
Yeah.
Carl.
Yeah. But that's what it is. It's a county mayor, but we still call it an executive. It may change. We'll see.
So are you gonna retire from your day job and do that? Is that the idea?
Yeah. If I were to be elected, I'll be a full-time county executive, and it needs to be a full-time job. I don't have any side jobs. I don't farm. I don't do anything. That will be my job. And it needs to be a full-time job. Now, some of the city mayors are part-timers, but for the county executive seat, that's a full-time job.
Is there an office inside the
Courthouse?
in Benton courthouse?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think they moved it from the second to the third floor. But yeah, it's the county exec's office is in the courthouse along with the trustee and
Assessor's office? He's on the second floor or the first floor.
Yeah.
When you call it the second floor, that's really sort of the first floor, isn't it?
Yeah, if you walk in from ground level.
Yeah, from ground.
Yeah. If you walk around the front of the courthouse,
It's the second floor.
that faces the Highway 411, that's the first floor. And then if you came in from the bank side where the old snack bar used to be.
There's a lot over there between two buildings that sort of decorates it during seasonal events. What is that? That's a neat little corner, isn't it?
I think that's the Faith and Football. Faith and Football Salon. I believe they have that
The
little area.
It's. I looked it up on, and I thought it had a different tax address.
I'm not
so
sure.
it may be somebody else.
I'm not sure. And then, of course, you've got Jerry Lowry has the drugstore right there, too.
Yeah.
And then the old Witt's hardware store is still there, right there on the corner.
Yeah.
But it's been vacant for years.
I went in that drugstore here a while back to get a Coke, and they looked at me like I was crazy. But I just didn't want to stop at a convenience store,
Yeah. But, I actually, when we had sold the oxygen business, I thought about buying the hardware store. Matt was getting ready to retire, and
it'd be hard to compete with the Burgesses.
Yeah.
Well, they're
they're
nice,
good people.
They're good people.
I do a lot of trading with the Burgesses.
They got a good billing system. You notice that, or do you have? I have an account over there. They got a real good billing system.
They told me I needed to count as much as I'm in there, but I usually just pay every time I go in. I always seek out David when I need advice on something. He always steers me right.
Well, they remind me of Cleveland's Ace Hardware back when it was good.
Yep.
Back when it was, it's different now.
Well, they put an Ace Hardware in there at Ocoee now, and but I think local people still like to deal with the local people anytime you can. But the Ace is really nice there too. That's been a good thing, I guess. And like I say, I don't good businessmen. I don't think are afraid of competition. I think David's a good businessman.
Do you? I had the guy on here a while back, LeConte, that guy that has that sandwich shop. I can't think of his name. He has there before you get to the Dollar General on the right, that sandwich shop, and his wife has the bakery in the bottom of the Masonic Lodge.
Yes. Yeah.
I want to say LeConte, but that's not it.
Lois.
That's her that's the grandmother, right?
Lois is the one I know that they have the bakery and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think Lois might be the mother.
Yeah, the Lois.
And the son-in-law and daughter maybe run it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a good place too. We got some good there's some good little mom and pops.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. And I tell you, up in Copper Basin, the Copper Grill, and you got all the breweries up there and everything. There's a lot of.
What about the New York restaurant? Was it the New York? Is that the name?
It used to be,
New York restaurant.
Yeah.
And then you got the Mexican restaurant over there.
Got several. We got a really good one at Ocoee too. So, yeah. But they started having karaoke on Friday night. You can't hardly get in there.
At that.
The one in Ocoee.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, when you say Ocoee, see, that's Benton to me, but that's Ocoee to you.
Yeah, that's Ocoee.
Yeah.
You're right there at the 411-64 crossing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but it's, I did, getting back to the executive deal, you know, I'd served a couple of terms on the school board, and I never really thought of myself as a politician. And the school board, you know, it used to be a nonpartisan thing. You didn't have to declare a party for a school board. And I'm kind of unique in that I've had a lot of family that were really strong on both sides of the fence.
Yeah, because you're
especially back down during the rough times.
Yeah, they're all Democrats.
Yeah, my grandfather Kenneth Howard was big Republican in Elmer Morehouse, and my grandfather ran for sheriff back in late '60s and early '70s a couple of times
Against the Bigs.
I think he ran maybe against J.T. Stafford, maybe against J.T. Stafford.
What about Whitey?
Whitey came in the early '70s.
Is Whitey still alive?
No, he passed away.
What about Dewey, his brother?
Dewey Ramsey. I have not heard from Dewey.
I hadn't heard from him in years.
I'm not sure. Now, I know the son's, his son Bob passed away recently.
Oh, really?
His oldest son, he did a lot of excavation work, dozer work, things like that.
I was good friends with Dewey.
Yeah, yeah. But Whitey, my Aunt Sandra worked for Whitey as his secretary for years at the jail, and I grew up with Brian. His son Brian and I graduated together. And of course, Brad had the gun shop there.
Yeah.
And Benton always had big success with that. And I think every gun I've ever bought, I bought
You
from
mean
Brad.
the Benton Shooter
Supply.
Yeah. Doesn't Wes Snyder work up there now?
I believe so.
I think he does.
And one of the Milan boys that was at Cleveland. Policeman works there, and he got some good people working for him.
Benton's a good place, isn't it?
It is.
Polk County.
It's a good place. Polk County's just it's just tough in that we really don't have any kind of a real tax base. You know, it's property taxes, a little bit of sales tax off of tourism, but really the average person in Polk County drives about, and I am the average. I think I saw on our dashboard one time when I looked at it, at the school system there, it said that the average person in Polk County drives 32 miles each way to work. So a lot of people live there, but there's not a lot of opportunity to work.
A lot of them work at McKee Baking.
Absolutely. Well, and a lot of them work in McMinn County.
Denzo.
Yeah. They work at, of course, Bowater was the place.
Yeah.
Forever. Everybody from Polk County worked at Bowater, and Huber, which is now Avonic.
Right.
And, of course, but Denzo's a big
I
one
think
now.
that people from Benton are more accustomed to driving that far to work.
They are. Yeah.
More than Cleveland people.
I can remember when everybody used to carpool to Bowater. I remember when
they'd park at a certain spot and meet.
They used to carpool to work.
That was a big thing, man.
Yeah. We only had one car that got rusted out.
Yeah.
You had a work car. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was.
They did do that, didn't they? They had an old car. They would drive there because it would get rusted out, and they'd claim they didn't rust cars out.
Yeah.
Or heating air units.
That's what my grandparents and my uncles always told me.
Yeah.
My uncle was.
I think that might have been an excuse just not to buy a new car.
Yeah, maybe. You may know my uncle. I have an uncle, Jimmy McAbee. Seems like everybody knows him. I can't go anywhere that somebody says, hey, they call him the little round man. He worked at retired from Bowater. He was a pipe fitter. And he lives here in Cleveland now, but he worked there for years, and Lord mercy, the tales they would tell. And of course, a lot of my family, made good livings working at Bowater.
That was the staple. I remember when our neighbor, their dad got a job at Bowater's, and we just thought that they had hit the lottery.
Oh, when I got out of respiratory therapy school, I put in an application at Bowater. If they'd had called me, I'd probably went to work there. I could have made more there than I could have with an associate's degree in a medical field.
And work Christmas Day and make triple time or some bizarre thing.
Yeah. But of course, every now and then the wind blow the other direction. You get a little bit of rotten egg smell, and people complain.
You live with,
and all the guys that work there said, it smells like money. It smells like money.
What about Linsdale? Is that part of Benton?
No, Linsdale's its own little community. It's just up from Benton. If you
Well, see, I ride bicycles, and I ride up. Well, just yesterday, I rode from the airport over to the golf course, over to Old Parksville Road, York Road, across Chestuie, down what I call the Indian Reservation, but it's not. But it takes you all the way behind the Benton dump or the dumpsters, behind the old Hatcher Grocery, circle the courthouse, take what we call the Chestnut Loop, which goes by Steve Morgan's, up through there. Well, I like him.
And now that's going out.
And then that's going towards Patty.
That's going out towards Linsdale. Yes, sir.
Yeah, and I've been through Linsdale, and they've got a building there that says Linsdale Community Center. Now, what is that active?
Not that I know of.
I mean,
not that I know of. They've still got over there in Delano, they got a little place where the Lions Club was, and they have a ball field over there, and they use it for a polling place.
Well, that's where the thing is that says
Community Center.
Community Center.
Well, that's actually in Delano.
Sign says Linsdale. Linsdale Community Center. Because I know where Delano is. That's to the right of Pinhook. Well, those little communities fascinate me, don't they?
Left side of 411. I guess most people call that Linsdale.
Those little areas fascinate me.
And of course, where the one I'm talking about, where the old softball field is. Well, now there was an old softball field that was over there where the old Linsdale School used to be. There. And then there's that little place there close to Delano Baptist Church there.
Claxton?
Claxton's on across McMinn County there. So I go to work that way. I usually will go down 411, then I'll get on Bowater Road, and then I'll go by Claxton Fire Hall and go into Athens that way.
They call that the Bowater 500?
Yeah.
Boy, you got to move. Now, they'll run you over. Till they had now they got that four-way there. It slows traffic down a little bit.
But it's...
You ever get a ticket when you get into the culprit? So you go in.
That's why I go through Claxton. I got tired of going through Etowah.
you get a speeding ticket, won't you?
Got good.
So you go through Estonali.
East Denali by the church.
It does take you 45 minutes.
It takes
every
about 45
bit
minutes.
of it.
It takes about 45 minutes. My daughter lives right up from East Denali Church there. She's married to Matt Ray, who is son of David Ray, that used to coach baseball at McMinn Central. But Matt's the baseball coach at McMinn. They live right there close to East Denali. And she teaches at Rossville Elementary. She's special ed coordinator.
So
she went north. It's kind of funny. My sister is the assistant principal at the new big elementary school in Athens, the new Athens primary there. And then she married a guy from Englewood, and then my wife's from Englewood. So I sent my sister to McMinn County, and I brought my wife to Polk County. And we argued about which got the better end of that deal. But my sister's followed in Dad's footsteps. And I've got another sister that's like, she went into medical like me. She's a nurse. And my four daughters, I've got one that's my oldest daughter has her own salon. She's always been. I thought she was going to be my attorney.
She's your hair cutter.
Yeah, Prince Miller was my attorney back in the day, and I asked Prince. I said, "What's the best way to get a kid into law school?" And he said, "Well, best thing to do is she get at math." And I said, "Yeah." He said, "Well, most of law is accounting." He said, "Get her an accounting degree." So I put her on the accounting path, and she hated it. So I come in one day, the wife says, tell him. She's sitting there, I hate accounting. I just want to do hair. I love doing hair. So she went to cosmetology school. She's always had her own business. And then my oldest stepdaughter, my daughter, I call her my daughter, Lauren, she works here for Dr. Ford at the eye clinic. She's a surgical tech and does eye stuff. And then she worked for Kappa and White for years in Chattanooga, and then recently came down here to Cleveland, works here in Dr. Ford's office. My daughter Jennifer is a special ed coordinator up at Riceville Elementary, and then our youngest daughter, Amanda, is a interior designer, and she has her own interior design firm in Knoxville. She has Design AF.
Oh, I bet that's
She is
tough.
huge. She's huge, and she's. I mean, I think I asked her a few weeks ago how many projects she had going. She had 58.
Golly.
But she started that business kind of like me. She started at 26 during COVID. Started her own firm, and she went to design school at UT, and she actually delivered the commencement address for her class at UT. A little girl from Polk County went to Polk County High School. She's up there giving the commencement address. We're really proud of her, and she worked for Ferguson Enterprises, and she helped people with designing bathroom fixtures, lighting fixtures. That was kind of her specialty. And a couple of contractors told her, said, you're wasting your time. You need to get out on your own. And she took a jump and went out on her own. And I gave her the best advice I ever got business-wise. My former father-in-law was August Lee that owned Southeast Plating Company here in Cleveland. Used to zinc plate the nails, went through the little Duracell batteries. I loved him to death. We lost him and my dad the same year. I lost my former father-in-law and my dad in the same year. One in January, one in December. But he told me one time, he said, take something you know and do it for yourself. And that's kind of what I did with respiratory therapy equipment. And I gave that advice to Amanda, and she took that advice and she started her own design firm, and she's branched out. She does materials. She retails tile, marble. She does furniture now. Most of these houses she's building.
Oh yeah.
I mean, she's doing everything, not just the design of the house, but she goes out and she makes sure the electricians are punching in right for the lighting. And
oh, I've dealt with those designers.
I'm telling you, she's a bulldog. They'll
They
tell
have to
you.
send the samples in, and furniture too. They've got all that connection.
She really does well. She has Design AF, Amanda
AF.
Furlow. She married a UT football player, and he does a lot of nonprofit stuff in Knoxville, but he also has a company that deals with mental health for athletes. He wrote a book. The name of the book is Transition Like a Champion, Life Sports Business. And he took what he learned in sports and wrote a book to kind of transition you from out of sports into business, like how to be the playmaker and how to use a competitive advantage and things like that. And then he played for, I aggravated him. I tell him he got Fulmer fired. His senior year was Kiffin's 1 year.
Oh.
So he had Fulmer 4 years, and then he had Kiffin the last year. He was a defensive back, mostly special team guy, and was about to break the starting lineup. And he said there was a guy walked in one day for practice. His name was Eric Berry. And he said, I knew right then I was in trouble. I better keep doing well on special teams. And he did. He was, he played with Eric Berry. He actually was playing with Inky Johnson when Inky got hurt. And he and Inky used to do a lot of motivational speaking together too. They're really close. But my girls did me right. Everybody jokes with me. They say, I know why you're bald. I grew up with two sisters, had no brothers. And then I had
5
4 daughters. But my 4 daughters really did me.
2 wives.
Yeah, 2 wives. This was made, first one was 4 years. This was made at 28. So I think
may be okay.
This was stuck, I think. I don't think we're in trouble. But, and I don't blame anything on my first wife. we were very young, and that was one of those deals where we were married very young, and I think it just one of those things where you missed out on a lot, and then you start regretting that.
Yeah.
And,
Everybody's been there.
Yeah. And I was single for 9 years before I got remarried. I didn't know if I'd ever get remarried again.
Yeah.
And I met my wife, and we've been together 28 years now. So, but yeah.
But why do you want to complicate your life with becoming county executive? Don't you think that's a position that'll get a lot of criticism? I mean, you'll be making half the people mad, and their friends, their relatives, their people you went to school with, the people you go to church with, and you're voting against them, and you can't help them.
Well, I got a little taste of that when I was on the school board, dealing with things, and like I said, my dad was always big on service. He served in Vietnam. I was a year old when he left for Vietnam. He could have got a deferment. He went, and then he was an educator and served our county on both ends, educating kids. And he always kind of put a sense of service in me. And like I say, education's always been important because it was my parents' life work. And if you don't educate your kids, that's where you've got to start in any society. I think.
Your whole family's in the service industry.
Pretty much, yeah. Either healthcare or education.
Yeah.
And then, so I got a little bit of a taste of what it's like to deal with budgets when I was on the school board, and that's always tough. And I just want to see our county thrive a little better. We need more. I feel like we need more of a business approach to our county government. And I've been in business. I started a company with some really good partners that taught me a lot. I dealt with growing a business. I know what it's like to have to run a business. I've signed both sides of the check, and like I say, I've dealt with budgets, and with our county, it's just so hard, just because of the lack of revenue coming into our county. We're just 60% of our county is national forest.
Maybe some of it's keeping some things status quo.
Yeah,
I mean, some things are okay,
right? Oh yeah, and you want to. What I want to do is I want to honor traditional Polk County lifestyle and values, but also see us thrive. And you're not gonna keep people from coming to Polk County. They're flooding in there, just like they are Bradley County.
Yeah, well, and I think Bradley County is good at that.
Yeah.
Keeping, what was it you said? That was really good phrase.
I want to keep traditional
lifestyle.
A traditional lifestyle, but actually have growth and prosperity.
See, I think our city's not doing that here in Cleveland. We're changing. It's okay to have more of what you got, but to have different of what you got is not what we're wanting.
Right.
I think.
Right. And I think that's what scares everybody. You've got new ideas coming in, and you can be afraid of those, or you can look at them and say, is this something we might need to think about adopting down there? Or is this better?
Or is this just an adjustment to our old way?
Absolutely.
What was wrong with our old way?
Absolutely.
I mean, everything's fine.
And boy, I loved my childhood. I wouldn't have traded my childhood for the world.
How are you going to improve on that?
Man, I used to get out and ride dirt bikes up through the national forest with my cousins, and we'd play in the pastures.
Go to the ramp tramp?
Yeah,
you
go
ever
to
do
the ramp tramp. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
My cousin won the beauty pageant.
Really?
Yeah. They remember they had a beauty pageant there of some. Did you ever eat the ramps?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Can you still get ramps?
Yeah, they do it. They used to, you would go up, they would take Jeeps, they would take horses, and then they got to where they wouldn't allow stuff in.
Right, yeah.
So now they have parties that go out. They still have the ramp festival every year.
I walked the hill and ate the eggs and ramps and came back down.
They have guys that go up there, and they have parties that go out and harvest the ramps, and they bring them down to Camp McCroy there in Greasy Creek and have music. It's 2-3 day long thing. And
does your area go to Greasy Creek? I guess it does, doesn't it?
Well, for me, I'm a countywide. So
you go to Greasy?
Yeah.
So you're all the way to Web Store?
Well, I do everything
Is Webb Store in Polk County?
Yeah.
Benton?
Yeah, well, Webb's is in Reliance.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Polk County encompasses Reliance and Farner and Copper Hill and
Farner,
Ducktown and
God,
so all that's Polk County.
That's huge.
It is. I think we're the third largest county in Tennessee land area wise. Then we used to be. Remember when they used to put you had a 2-digit number on the front of your license plate? Like, I think Bradley was maybe 13 or something. We were 75. Well, that was your rank as far as your population.
Right.
So out of 95 counties, we were 75th in population, but we were third in area, land area. So
That's really unique.
Yeah. It shows you how spread out it is. And it creates a lot of difficulty too, because the county's cut in half. You have to duplicate a lot of services. You have to have 2 bus garages. You have to, 2 courthouses. We had a big issue with the
2
courthouse.
police stations, I guess, right?
Yeah, we got a police station up in
2 county
Ducktown.
police stations?
We got a county office up in Ducktown,
So
but
see,
now we
that's
got one jail.
But that's still a duplication.
Yeah. But you've got an office up there. You got an office in Benton. Of course, now incorporated areas, you got Ducktown, Copper Hill that are incorporated, but they don't have a police department. And Benton City does, but they don't have a jail. So
What incorporated is that? What is that?
it means you have your own little city government.
Like a homeowners association?
Well,
a little bit.
That's probably a good way to call it.
I mean,
it's
just
like
a little more
association.
more than a homeowner association.
Yeah, right.
Because they can't rest you.
You've got councils, and you got county councils,
But you don't have a police powers.
No,
I guess you call it.
just in Benton City does have a police force, and they
But Copper Hill doesn't.
No,
Used to, I think.
Yeah, we have.
I think Dewey Ramsey used to, or Chris.
Maybe.
Chris.
We've got county
Chris
guys.
Chastain.
We have county guys up on that end too. So, and the office is right there in Ducktown. We got an office there. But it's a struggle for a lot of things because we do have to duplicate stuff. And then you think about just our residents. We get water, and this is another thing for me getting into this is dealing with the infrastructure because we are growing so fast. I mean, there's a lot of growth, and we've got to figure out how to manage it responsibly because, we get power. The people over across the mountain, they get power from North Carolina. And we're, down here we got volunteer electric, and everything. But then you look at all the different water services. You got
Ocoee?
Yeah, you got Ocoee, you got Benton City, you got Hiwassee, you got above the mountains, they've got Ducktown, they've got a water treatment plant, water plant there. So you got all these.
Well, that gets complicated.
Sewer. I mean, Benton's got sewer. Ocoee Utility has sewer. So
Ducktown has some sewer, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think so. So it's
Copper Hill has sewer. Yeah. It can't be the same.
So you've got all these different utilities in one county, and you can't service it all with one of them. I mean, it's a juggling act.
Why do you want to get into it?
I think I may be the only one either dumb enough or brave enough to try it.
Or it's just something you hadn't done?
Hell, I want to stay in Polk County.
You ever wake up one morning and think, I think I'll just go fishing? I don't want this.
I've been there.
Or do you feel it's a responsibility?
I do. I do. I feel
obligated?
I feel like my county was really good to me, and I'm in my last chapter. When you hit 60 and you look at things, you realize you're on the back nine. You're on about hole 13 or 14. And
I look at it as we're at about 6 o'clock on the clock.
Yeah.
On the day.
But I'm going to make that last push while I've got the energy. Like I say, I've got 8 grandkids, and I can just as well run those kids. I'll be a happy man no matter. But I do feel like I want to give back to my county that gave me a lot. I've had like I say, I wouldn't trade my life for anything. I had some rough years where I thought every time I saw the light at the end of the tunnel, it wound up being a train.
Boy, those were rough years.
Yeah, between my 20s and 30s were tough years. That early adult life was, I had to learn some hard lessons. But I was very blessed and very fortunate to get around some really smart people that helped me along the way and taught me a lot of things. And I look at our county, and I want our county to, you being from Bradley County, we always feel like our neighbors, McMinn, Hamilton, Bradley, they look at us as really backwards. And sometimes we deserve that moniker, I think. But I'm a Polk County guy that has Polk County roots, but I've functioned outside of Polk County. I've functioned in business in Hamilton, Bradley, McMinn, Knox County. I've done work in Knox County. So I've gotten outside the county borders a little bit and seen how business works too. And I want to see our county hopefully put forth a little bit better front and reputation to our neighbors and our state. We were the crown jewel of the Tennessee during the Olympics. And it's like we kind of lost that momentum.
Y'all got some really good people come out of Polk County. You got Bill Moats.
Bill Moats.
I mean,
I tell you, Bill Moats and my dad shared the hill. Bill was the principal at Benton Elementary, and Dad was the principal at
How you
Benton High
going to beat
School.
Bill Moats? You can't.
No,
You
and
can't.
Louetta, his wife, taught school for
man.
years. Bill is Bill's another guy that I really respect,
100%.
and a guy that I could go up to tomorrow and say, "Hey, Bill, I need your advice."
He'd see you coming.
He'd give it to me.
He'd see you coming.
I have a lot of respect for Bill Moats, and a lot of people.
So a lot of good people from Polk County.
I always tell people when they kind of make fun of us, they say, Polk County, bunch of rednecks from Polk County. I say, well, I always ask them, how many space shuttle astronauts have you had graduate from your school system?
Right.
Because we've got one,
Yeah.
Dr. Roger Crouch.
Yeah.
And his brother was a dentist in Copper Hill for years, but Roger went on space shuttle missions. He's a good old Polk County boy.
Well, everybody here has got a relative that's from Polk County or good people from Polk County. What about the guy that runs the newspaper, Jeff?
Oh, Jeff.
God.
I'm like you. I still call him Jeff.
How you going to be smarter than Jeff?
Jeff, my wife probably get. I may be telling some tales, but Jeff's sister Candy was my first grade sweetheart. I was in love with his sister back big time, and I used to go. My sisters used to take ballet, and oh Lord, I'd go just to get to see Candy because she had took ballet with the older girls, and I could get to see her come in as we were leaving.
That's a big work all day just to do that.
I remember Jeff
Did
as a
you
little
ever go to the
kid.
Duff?
Oh yeah, Jeff pulled the wire from my house. He and Larry Guy and Charlie Kinzer did my wiring for my
He's
house.
the inspector now for Athens, right?
Larry Guy, he's another great guy.
Yeah.
And Jeff came over and pulled wire at my house when he was a young guy. Jeff did so much stuff. He's
smart.
He is
man.
smart.
He's
guy.
smart.
He's sneaky.
Did you ever play
smart.
foosball there at the Duff?
I didn't play much foosball at the Duff. Unfortunately, I was in the middle of my 20s when he had the Duff. So I was going through years of working 2 and 3 jobs.
Well,
trying to do a business.
We were both in our what I call the warrior years.
Yes.
But I did get there for a season. I would go on Tuesday nights with a group and we'd play foosball, and it was a real mental vacation for me. It was like on a Tuesday night, and a lot of the river rats, we called them at the time, Shiner. And, so it was good. It was good for me.
Now, I hung out more at Tick's place before it became the Duff. You remember Tick's place?
I just started going to the Duff.
Shelton had hot dogs and stuff, and then Jeff got that place, and he had the Duff, so that was cool. But I was.
I guess you went to Grumpy's.
Oh yeah,
obviously.
well, a time or two. Yeah, I went there a little bit. I was never much of the. I didn't go to Grumpy's a whole lot. I did experience groveling in the gravels at Grumpy's.
Right.
Yeah. Used to go listen to the Beaters. I like music a lot, and I used to go listen to the Beaters.
That place started getting out of control.
It did.
It started getting out of control.
It did. And but yeah, it was something else. Of course, Oh my gosh, I lived right across from May's place. Have you ever heard of May's place?
The
little bar that used to be right there on
Yeah,
64 right
yeah,
from Cherokee Corner?
yeah.
And that was it was kind of like the Pines. You had May's place in the Pines. That was your joints,
Right.
And so I lived right next to it. But like I say, when I got married at 19. I was finishing up second year of respiratory therapy school, and then by the time I was 22, I had 2 kids. So I didn't.
If you got
I
out
didn't get
to
to experience the duff
right.
much. Yeah.
Just on occasions.
Yeah. But now I can remember when Tick Shelton had the place there on 411, and he had sandwiches, and oh my gosh, he had some of the best ham and swish sandwiches, and he had one of those steamers. He'd steam that thing, and the bread would be about falling apart.
Yeah.
Whenever you read a story in the newspaper or see something on television about somebody getting arrested, you naturally assume they're guilty. Unless the story's about you or someone you love, then you'll think differently. And you'll want a lawyer who will defend you. My name's Scott Canavis. If you or someone you love has been charged with a crime, call me. I'll return your phone calls, I'll work on your case, and I will defend you.
So when is your election?
So early voting starts April the 15th.
That's not long.
Tax day, yeah.
April 15th.
Tax day, you can go pay your taxes, and if it makes you feel any better, you can go exercise your right to vote, and make you feel a little bit better about it.
Yeah.
But early voting's April the 15th, and then the election day will be May the 5th. As of right now, people have until the 19th, Wednesday, I guess, to turn in petitions. I've already turned mine in. So after the 19th, we will know who will be running. Of course, I'm running against an 8-year incumbent right now. He's a good fella. I just feel like we got to put a little bit better business approach to our county government. I want to see us pursue more avenues outside of the county to get funding for things that need to go on in the county. And I think it's going to take some pretty creative business practices to be able to do that and to improve the county without having to increase taxes on our landowners. It's always property taxes that get hit. Right. And that, because that's basically all we've got. We've about maxed out sales taxes, and property taxes is always what gets hit. And
maybe you can be more creative in how to do it.
Yep.
Maybe
that's what I'm looking at. I've got some plans. Yeah. I've got some plans. We got some big things coming up that we're going to have to deal with that we've kicked the can down the road for too long on. But the good news is we've got some opportunities coming up that we haven't had in the past. We've got some debt service that's going to be retired on some things, and it's going to free up some capital. But we've got to use that correctly. I think if I get in there, if I can't do it, I know the people that can help me get it done, and we'll get a plan to see us prosper a little bit better than what we have over the last 15 years.
Is the county executive over everybody in the courthouse? How's that work? Or
entitled, really? I'm not going to go in and tell the trustee how to do her job. If she's never had she doesn't have comptroller's audits.
In other words, you're just kind of helping to facilitate what they're doing or something.
My thing is, I feel like the county executive's main role is he needs to be the one to guide the county commission. The county commission is your funding body. They hold the purse strings on everything. Your commissioners really are the ones that have the power. So you really need good, smart commissioners. And
How many commissioners are there? 3?
Oh, no, we got 4 districts now.
Oh, is that right?
I think we got 12 now.
Is that right?
I think there's 3.
Where do
in
they
each
meet
district.
at?
Well, it rotates between the courthouse in Benton and the community center up in Copperhill. Like we have to rotate
Right.
commission meetings, to satisfy both ends of the county. But we got the commissioners are really your funding body for your county. They drive the train, or they're the engine, I should say. But in my opinion, the county executive is the guy that's got to steer the train. I've got to help these commissioners make good decisions. My dad used to say, there's a difference in being ignorant and being stupid. Ignorance means you made a bad decision because you didn't have the right information. Being stupid means you had the information, you made a bad decision. And I feel like my charge would be to make sure that the commissioners have the right information to make the best decisions to move our county forward. And I think we can do that. I can work with about anybody, and all I care about is you've got the right, you've got the best interests of the county at heart, and you're willing to have some principle in doing it. But it's basically I wrangle the cats. I think wrangle the cats on the commission.
Yeah,
it's a cat wrangling
set
job.
the tone, maybe.
Yeah, and it's been a little chaotic over the years, I think, and I want to kind of get it more under control, get it more businesslike. Everything can get emotional, and I get emotional. My dad was a great administrator, and he always would say, "Somebody's got to be the adult." Who's going to be the adult? And I always asked you, how do you keep your cool when you got parents coming in, yelling at you over their kids and this, that, and the other? And he said, well, somebody's got to be the adult. I try to remember that. Sometimes I'm the kid. Sometimes I'm more my mom's side of the family. I'm more emotional, and I have to kind of try to check myself. But fear is not something for me. And I think for me, I don't really owe anybody anything, So I think I think people know that I will.
You need about 10 or 12 years to get to where you owe somebody.
Well,
then it won't matter, right?
It'll happen quick.
Yeah.
There'll be people that'll say, "Hey, I helped you."
Yeah.
But you got to work with people.
Yeah.
But like I say, I feel like I'm pretty independent. I don't have a lot of ways that outside forces can really affect my life. I've been very fortunate.
You don't have any baggage, in other words.
Right. I mean, they'll try to give me baggage, but it's okay. I mean, anybody that had a question about me, all they need to do is call me. It's very easy to get a hold of me, and I'll talk to anybody straight on. I actually ran for this position 4 years ago, and there were several things that came out that were really big misrepresentations of things that went on when I was on the school board. And they were like, "No, I don't address that. Nobody's going to believe that." And after the election, I had lost by about 600 votes, and I had several people come up to me and they're like, "I can't believe you did such and such." And I said, "I didn't do that."
Fake news.
"Oh, yeah. And I'm like, "No, this is what I did." And they're like, "Oh, I didn't know that." And I mean, it was amazing, and it'll be that way. I know it. We get closer to election time, there'll be things that'll come out, and all I ask for people to do is, "Hey, call me and ask me. I'll tell you a straight answer." And usually they're like, "Oh, I appreciate you telling me that."
You'll meet them at the damn deli.
Yeah, that's right. I'm right above the deli. We'll go down there and have lunch. And it's always, you can always get a lot done over a biscuit.
Oh, you can get more done over that than you can in meetings.
Absolutely. And I always tell people, one-on-one, if you want to talk to me one-on-one, I'm glad to do it. I'll explain anything I need to explain. So, but I was real proud of some of the things we did when I was on the school board. We started the Innovative Learning Academy when I was on the board, which really helped our school system. We identified that we were losing a lot of kids, in middle school age especially, to homeschool and private school. We set up an Innovative Learning Academy where they could basically do homeschool through the school system. and they didn't have to pay for a K-12 curriculum. We actually got to count them as average daily attendance for the school. So state was funding their education, and their parents were really involved with it. But they also had certified teachers to back up the children and the parents when they needed help, because they were monitoring their work in real time. So it was the best of both worlds. You had the parent helping the child, but you also had a certified teacher that was there for backup. Because in Tennessee, the only requirement you got to have to homeschool your kids is high school education. So you don't have to have any kind
Well,
of...
education's taken a different turn
It
than it was
has.
when we grew up. I mean, being homeschooled, that was so foreign.
Oh,
to us.
yeah.
So foreign.
Yeah, and I
don't know how that will turn out.
Yeah, and I see...
We won't know for 15 years.
And I've had it all. I've got grandkids that were, did great in all my girls did great in public education.
Yeah.
Like I say, I'm a big public education guy, but I don't fault people if they want to homeschool their kids. But
Who knows what's right?
Yeah.
At this point, it's too early to tell.
I've got one grandson that has a really legitimate issue with ADHD, and to the point where he has to have 2 doses of medication a day, and he could not function in a 25-kid classroom.
Bouncing off the walls.
He just couldn't pay attention.
Yeah.
There was too much going on.
He'll be rich.
And he wound up,
He'll be the one that's rich.
and he's the one that he does. If he likes something, he'll study it to the nth degree.
Stay on focus.
But he actually goes to East Denali to Valley Academy, and he's in a class of about 10 kids, and that really helped him. He still has struggles, but really smart kid, but just he's one of those that
He just needs to get out and exercise or something.
Yeah, he does.
Burn off some energy.
And he does. He's an outdoorsman. I always said he might be the next crocodile hunter. He's 4 years old. He's catching snakes, and he'll tell you what each kind of toad is. And he loves the outdoors. So I'm thinking maybe we got to get you on the path to maybe being a forest ranger or maybe a game warden or something like that. And but he loves it outside. He's one of those. He doesn't have to say he's not going to be a gamer. He's going to be out doing stuff. And so I understand there's a lot of different things that go on. I was one of the ones that really pushed to get a guidance counselor position for a middle school, because we were identifying those middle school kids have so much trouble.
Oh, that's the age.
That age
That's
where
the age.
they're going from kids to adults, and they don't know what's going on.
And some kids are more mature, and some aren't, and some have home problems and don't know it.
But I think one of the things I see, and this is just my opinion, is we got to, we try to make sure all our kids are successful, but at the same point, we also got to teach them that life's always going to have failures.
Always.
You're never going to not fail at something. And it's how do you handle that? And it seems like kids nowadays have hard trouble if they fail at something. They just want to fold the tent. They don't know how to handle it. And back in the old days, we resolved conflicts with each other.
Yeah, right.
And we didn't win every game. And,
Lost some.
Got
beat.
Yeah, sports taught me so much.
You had to try out for third base or first base.
I'm telling you, sports taught me teamwork, for one thing. You got to have a team.
Yeah.
And if you got to have a good, strong team. I mean, you can take Tom Brady and put him on a middle school football team and play against UT, and he's going to get killed.
Right.
So you're just as strong as the team. So you can't get too much of a big head when something goes well. You gotta give credit to that guy that blocked for you, or the guy that caught the pass that you threw.
You got a campaign slogan?
I got a lot of them. Yes.
Have you stuck on one
I got
yet?
a lot of them. One of my guys that's helped me, he said, you really need to get a slogan, one slogan, and stick to it. And so I found one, and I actually put it on my Facebook this week, and we'd bounced several off, and I've got more. But I thought this one was probably suited me more than anything. And pull it up here because I don't want to get it wrong.
Yeah.
I try to do a little something on Facebook about every, probably about every other day or so I'm going to between now and like I'm doing some videos that I'm putting out there, trying to keep them a minute and a half, just talking about current things that are going on. But this one really kind of hit me when we thought about it, and it was, guided by faith, grounded in family, committed to our county. And that kind of sums it up. I've been very fortunate. I've been blessed, and I do have a strong faith, but I don't push my faith on other people. I've made a lot of mistakes in my life, my younger life, and I tell everybody, I was raised at good old Shiloh Baptist Church right there in Ocoee, and I feel like I'm the typical Southern Baptist Christian as far as I'm saved by faith I'm saved by grace through faith. And my big thing is I'm not going to worry about the speck in your eye until I take the log out of mine.
Right.
I feel like sometimes we get a little bit too big on pointing out other people's faults and not taking care of our own. So
I got enough of my own, don't you?
Absolutely. So, I don't profess to be a perfect person, but I try to be guided by basic biblical principles, and being fair and being honest is the main thing. My dad, that's one thing he would not tolerate, is if I ever told a lie. Man, if he ever caught me fibbing a little bit. Right. And it stuck.
As long as people believe you, you can about get away with anything.
Yeah, well, I don't want to just make them believe. I just don't want to.
Well, you can justify.
I want them to know, and
they can understand your justification.
And I tell people all the time, I may not tell you what you want to hear, but I want to tell you what I feel is the truth and what I believe. It may not be what you want to hear, and I did that a lot when we were, on the school board. People come to me.
How long was you on the school board?
8 years.
8 years.
Yeah,
pretty good while.
8 years. Yeah, and. I was on the school board when we purchased the land for the site of the new possible elementary middle school. We bought the Garden Sheep property. I was on the board when we did that, and that was really a lot of credit to the commission at the time. And Charles McClure, who just passed away, he was over our bus transportation for years. He was really instrumental in that. Dave Milan helped to kind of broker that, and we were very lucky to be able to acquire property that was already adjacent to our high school. And it's a great site. We just got to figure out how to get something on it coming up really soon. We got a lot of bad publicity about Benton Elementary School, the health report we got not long ago, and I addressed that in one of my short videos. We've been working on these problems for years. Back in 2016, we had all the principals to give us lists of infrastructure items that we needed to look at and tried to prioritize and some got done, and some have been a lingering problem from when I can remember when I was in the 5th grade at Benton Elementary School. Those bathrooms smelled awful. We always had an odor, there. And that, I'm like I say, that was 55 years ago. But anyway, I do want to, say that we had a lot of good people that tried to get us to where we can make some improvements, and we're going to get there. We're going to get there. It's just going to take a lot of work and some thinking outside the box to get it done. But it's time. It's time. It's time to address some big needs.
Well, Stan, I appreciate you coming, buddy. I wish you luck in your campaign for Benton executive.
Yeah. Polk County executive.
Polk County executive.
That's right. It sounds big.
It sounds big.
It's